When we talk about a heritage or an inheritance, the question is, how far-reaching is the inheritance that you will leave behind when you exit this world? Good morning. I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisseton, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. This week, as we look at our heritage, I'm reminded of some of my favorite words in the Psalms. It comes in Psalm 103, verse 17, where he says, "But the loving kindness of the Lord is from everlasting to everlasting on those who fear him, and his righteousness to children's children, to those who keep his covenant and remember his precepts to do them." Just prior to these verses, the psalmist is reminding us of the brevity of man's life. His days are like grass, he says, or like the flower of the field as it flourishes. We know how fleeting the bloom of a flower lasts. Just a few days sometimes. The early flowers of spring will appear on the banks outside our church, and then suddenly they're gone. When we consider how quickly the grass grows up and greens and covers, only to turn brown in the fall and virtually disappear before wintertime. Well, in comparison to the shortness of man's life, he speaks about God's mercy. God's mercy is from everlasting to everlasting. And eternity really does not measure at all. But who is this mercy bestowed upon? All of us who keep his covenant. God's law is very important to the Lord, and he calls his followers to keep it. His mercy is given to those who remember his precepts and remember to do them. So what does this mercy have to do with our theme of our heritage? He says this mercy is shown to those who fear him. And that's not only something we should do daily, but we should show reverence for an almighty God. But we must teach this godly fear to our children and their families. For he reminds us this mercy is for those who fear him, and his righteousness extends to children's children. When we read there in Deuteronomy chapter 6, he commands us to diligently teach this word to our children. Then they have the responsibility to teach their children also. I'm a grandfather. They call me Gramps. It's what those precious grandchildren know me by. And I have a duty to lead them to the Lord. And not only that, but to help them experience that mercy of God that extends from everlasting to everlasting. I have been privileged to baptize one of my grandchildren and to remind them every chance we get that the Lord should be the Lord of all their lives. The promise of mercy and righteousness is to children's children. Let's keep our solemn vow to not only teach and train our children, but also our grandchildren, to keep his precepts, to follow the Lord, and to love him with all their heart.